Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Mary Edwards with Connecting with the Stars, and we have the beautiful and brilliant Dolly Saffron here today. Hi Dolly, good to see you.
Hi Mary, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So we're going to talk about her relationships with ETs and her lifetime of adventures in a minute, but I'm going to share her brief bio with you here before we dive in. All righty, so Dolly Saffron has worked as a limo driver, assistant manager at Wendy's, a zookeeper, a bus driver, a security guard, a nurse, and more, including as a civilian worker for the U.S. Department of the Treasury, and also in the Army as an employee for the U.S. Department of Defense. Her UFO contacts began around age 1 and are still going on today. She is a lifetime experiencer of gray extraterrestrials and is bonded with the crew that most often took her. For most of her life, Dolly has kept her encounters a complete secret, but now she's agreed to come forward and tell the world the truth about the UFO presence on our planet. ETs are not abducting people against their will. They are not here to hurt anyone or take over the planet. The truth is, they are here to help, to heal, to guide, and to enlighten us. They are here, Dolly says, to ensure that everyone survives the many challenges facing humanity today. So here, I agree wholeheartedly with that. And I'll just let you start with your story, if you'd like to, about how you got connected in the beginning, and then we'll just go from there about how ETs help you and me and us and all of humanity in beautiful and wonderful ways. So.
Right. Well, I am a generational contactee. My father was one before me, and on throughout his lineage. My mother's family as well. My mom didn't accept it too much, though. She had some issues and it caused her great grief, and she shut down from it. I started life pretty much in an interesting way. My birth was difficult for her. I was a twin, and yet my twin was absent at birth. They don't know what happened. I had a missing twin, identical. From there, it just got weirder and weirder and weirder for my mother, because I started developing abilities very, very young. And apparently I was being contacted very, very young as well, from a baby onward. My life was pretty much guided, protected. I didn't have a lot of social contact with the world when I was growing up, though I did have friends. But it was a small group of friends, and I wanted to be with them and do things, but I would often not be available for that because I was with ET. My education was pretty interesting, because when I was in school here, I was horrifically advanced of everybody, and one of my teachers couldn't stand me anymore because I'd get bored and try to teach everybody else or talk. So they sent me to the library every day. And by the time I hit 6th grade, I realized I read every book in the library. I was like, well, darn. Junior high school was pretty much the same, but I decided to try to interact with everybody and do better than I did in elementary school. High school was another matter entirely. It was college preparatory school. We went to school half days, and we were taking college courses from my junior and my senior year. So I had an associate's degree when I graduated. My life with ET didn't solidify until I was 14, and I woke up. I was determined. I knew things were happening. I knew what they were, but I was convinced by my mother that I had to be either crazy or dreaming, and I decided to prove it to myself one way or the other. I was either needed help or this was real. I did that. I was up one night and saw them coming down and decided to memorize everything. And one thing led to another, and I woke up. At that time, I found out that my father was a contactee, because it was very traumatic for me to do this. And he was helping me and counseled me. And he brought me to Edgar Mitchell. I didn't realize what was happening until he did it. My dad worked for NASA. He knew him. He also knew Cooper, B.D. Cooper. not BD, just Cooper. I can't remember his first initials anymore. Um, when I got to Mitchell's house, I realized who he was when he opened the door. And he explained to me that he was a contactee as well. He saw many things and knew many things, and he was developing an institute. And they tried to hypnotize me, which everybody found out was impossible because now I'm awake. I don't need to be hypnotized. And then he started talking to me seriously about what was going on with me and what I was looking at, and helped me somewhat. He taught me how to meditate better than I was. He gave me good rule of thumb for when I was having things happen to me and how to, you know, generally emotionally walk through it, which helped me greatly because when I'm here, it's different. I can't talk about this to anybody. I kept my mouth shut. I was protecting myself as well as my family from ridicule and all kinds of stuff. That and my father had NDAs on him like crazy, so I had to be quiet. So I spent most of my life just doing what I wanted to do, which was learn to fly with them. By the time my 19th birthday rolled around, I had accomplished that, and I took my first flight out. My crew is literally 2 people, 2 or 3, and that would be the craft itself, who Talata, who is actually indwelling the craft. And then I would have 2 AI grays with me most of the time. They were always on board with us. And that was our crew and me. And Mama came with me a lot. She's been a figure in my life. She's a tall gray, and she enjoyed flying with us. And when we were doing the things that we were doing, she would often be there for that reason. My relationship to them is very, very personal. I'm very contacted or connected to Talata. He and I have been enjoined in our minds so many times that I absolutely have instantaneous contact with him. I can let him know that I'm wanting answers to something or speak to me, and he will. It's instantaneous. The connection is so tight. Mama takes a few minutes to get her attention, but I am wide open psychic. I was trained to be this way. Um, my life with them is very interesting. They don't like to be in space for too long. It's dangerous. Gamma radiation hurts them as well as it does us. And pretty much everything they do is inside a planet's magnetosphere because you're protected somewhat. So when they're here, they're working with everybody here and doing what they're doing. And then when they leave, they go very quickly to their points of origin or other places. They stay in space very, very little. They avoid it a lot. A lot of ET contact here that people see are drone activities with the AIs. They are the workers for them. They take the load of gamma radiation for them. And they were constructed and built and brought into this for that reason alone. There are massive numbers of them, and they work for all the ethnicities of all the ETs. They're sentinels, they're workers, they're liaisons. They do everything for them in space. They have to. And then they work with them on each planet that they go to. So that's my life.
Wow. Do you know where they go? I mean, you say they go back to their planets of origin, and then also second question, well, I have a million questions always, but
Yeah.
how do they protect themselves? Because I've been off planet a lot, and a couple of people told me that I'm going to die. I'm 71, that I'm going to die early because of my
Radiation exposure.
Yeah, but
yeah, I'm actually pretty highly radioactive. I've had a couple of bad bouts of it. I've set off radiation detectors a few times. I have to, ET gives me, Mama, there's a drink on board that I drink that it helps relieve me of the radiation exposure. So when I'm with them, it's just a matter of staying hydrated with this stuff, and it helps me. When I spend long periods here and I go without it, hopefully by the time I get back, my exposure has been lessened, but sometimes I've come back highly radioactive, and that's weird. I'll light up bowling alleys, the dark lights. I walk in there and I glow like a beacon, and people stare at me. It's like, what the heck? I had to go to the doctor a couple of times for it, as a matter of fact.
What is the
Yeah.
good? I know I've heard that of course, we know the ETs help you because who has been a part of this for so long, and I know they've helped me a lot. What is in the goo? That I know there's green goo, and there are different kinds of drinks and goo and helpful.
Well, one of them is is every time you drink it, it's to protect you from the exposure to gamma radiation. Every time you get in a jet on this planet, you're overexposed to gamma radiation. I don't know if people realize this, but if you fly a lot, you really need to get a strip that you wear because you're eventually going to get so much radiation from being in the air that you're going to need to see a doctor. This is absolute. And more now because our magnetosphere is down. I try to stay out of airplanes as much as possible for that reason. Um, it's even worse in an airplane because they have no shielding from it whatsoever. Craft generally does. We have two spheres of magnetic envelopes that are around us, and it kind of pushes it away somewhat, but they're still being pelted by it, but not as bad as jet airliners here or small aircraft. The higher you go, the more you're exposed. Um, so yeah, it's mostly radiation stuff. They will give you stuff to, if you've got a cold or influenza or some kind of virus or whatever, they will give you something also to drop that. They're very good at that. Just little different things, but it's mostly for radiation exposure. Absolutely.
Wow. So what was it like when, can we go back? May I ask you a question about your twin, or is that too personal?
No, it's okay.
Was that a
Um,
hybrid? Did they just, it was a part of the hybridization program? I think, because I've got
um,
125 hybrid
she and
kids.
I,
Yeah, I know
we
had some.
went with them.
Yeah.
It was kind of on their part, they wanted, because I was a twin, they wanted her to be with them and me here. And it was basically to watch us grow up. I was with them a lot, so I got what I needed to get from them. But they wanted to see how we would evolve separately and together at the same time. I did not meet her or even know she existed until I was an adult and I found my birth certificate. I was like, hey, what is this? I have a twin. I kind of already knew it though. I mean, in the back of my mind, I always thought I had a twin. And I've probably met her when I was younger, but they mercifully kept me from knowing totally. When we did meet, we spent a good month trying to get to know one another, and we have a working relationship now. I know who she is. She knows who I am. I'm happy what I'm doing, and she's happy what she's doing. We're individuals as well. Um, I cried a lot at first when I realized it. I mean, it was really emotional to find out that you have a twin and you're not crazy and that you realize that there's more to this than you thought, you know. There is that connection. I can call to her, she can call to me. We're very connected that way. And it's weird because our similarities are very, very strange. We think alike, we have the same likes and dislikes. We have done things the same. I've named a couple animals that she's named exactly identically for the same reasons. We have weird habits that nobody else in our families have that are identical to one another. It's just weird. And yet we also have the similarities in that she is definitely herself, you know. I've taken a lot of physical hits on this planet. I've been injured and I have scars and stuff like that. She has none. She has none of the injuries that I have, but she has the autoimmune disorders that I have, and they're working with that as well with her there, which I find very interesting. There's no getting around DNA. What happens to you? So, but yeah.
Fascinating. I have so many twins. I've been obsessed by twins my whole life. One of my twins, my cousins who's still alive, her twin was lost. That died right after birth. And I have some live here and I ask them questions. It's fascinating. So do you see
Yeah.
her in human form or spirit, or how do you, when you see
I've met her physically a couple of years ago before they bugged out of here. And it's funny, we're mirror twins. I'm left-handed and she's right-handed. We're absolute mirror twins. And if you look at us, between us, it's like looking in a mirror. This side of my body and her right side of her body look the same. And, you know, it's, you know, how we are symmetrical to one another. I find that really interesting. I had a mole. It's not there anymore. ET removed it. Um, uh, on the right side, left side of my face, and hers was on the right side, and they removed hers as well. So that's really weird. She still has a cleft in her chin because I bashed myself in the face when I was young, and I broke my chin here, so the cleft in my chin is no longer there. So you can tell us apart, dead up tell us apart, because she still has a cleft. Things like that. It's just weird. Yeah.
do you know where she lives, or she travel all over, or Is she?
She has a field that she works into. She's more interested in healing and medicine and things like that. And so she works at that. I have a hybrid son that I named Lloyd, who's also a healer, and she knows him actually, and he knows her, which comforted me a great deal. Um, so yeah, she's a healer. She works in that field.
Does she also, I mean, like I know you and I both have hybrid kids and Earth kids. And does she have children too? Does she have hybrid kids?
No, she decided not to do that. I have one physical child. She never had any. But she has, it was just her choice. I have four hybrid children, only four. And I have three boys, well, two boys and two girls, excuse me. Sorry, I'm thinking crazy day. I have Lloyd, Alexander, Sophia, and Nancy. I call her Nancy reasons. And yeah, that's what I got.
Did they live? I've only talked to three of my hybrid kids that live in the Pleiades, and they loved to talk to the father, who was grateful to get my eggs. And we've had conversations. I know the other ones are mostly on Earth and some up on too hybrid to live here on a craft. And but the hybrid one, the ones that I've talked to in the Pleiades, where I've done projects with them, I mean, it's really unbelievable. I can't really see them, but I have visited them, and it's been really cool to know that, you know, they said, oh, well, we love getting your DNA, and now the two of the cousins have, because eggs were given freely as they do. But so do you talk to Lloyd? And I have an Alexander too.
I have mentally spoken with Alexander, but I've never physically been in his presence except for when he was very small. My two younger children were born before I was 28. My youngest two were born after my 40s. I had Nancy when I was almost 60 years old. That's saying something. And Sophia I had at 58. So yeah, that one they've got absolute proof of that pregnancy. I showed it to Preston. I was like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. Yeah, and sent it to him. He's like, oh my God. I mean, dead up proof. So yeah.
Do you remember? Because I started feeling pregnant when I was in my late teens, even though I hadn't had relationships with anybody, and then all through, because most of mine are in their 20s. I'm 70 now, and then the Pleiadians and Arcturians told me they adjusted my age, and I guess they took 1,000 eggs, and there's still some that they have.
Oh my, yeah, I was never harvested like that. I opted for more natural issue, and so that's why I only had 4, and I was very specific with them about what I expected and what I wanted, and they worked with me that way. So
well, because you and I both grew up near each other, and our dads were both at NASA, and you got to talk to your dad. And my father, I told you, as you know, I've just started talking to him, and since he passed, because he was told to shut up and not talk about it. And so I never got the guidance or the help. So a lot of my boundaries were never set. I didn't know I could change those contracts. I didn't know that I could have input. So my life has been, not only both of our lives been really wiggly and wild, but I'm just so happy for you that your dad talked to you about it. And
I'm very, very, very lucky. I mean, I thank God, because I could have been in a lot more trouble now than I would have been. In other words, had I not known, I might have ended up in an MK Ultra unit, remote viewing for them. He absolutely saved me from that. He pulled me out. I've almost been abducted twice, and he stopped that from happening as well. So and my dad just came clean with me when I was 14. I mean, he just laid it all out and said, this is the way it is. And I've been privy to a lot of the comings and goings of Earth things and politics, and you know how that is. I understand a lot more that goes on here than most people do because of that. It's one of my guiding factors of why I came out, because I woke up one day as a young woman and I realized that people here are just clueless. They don't know. They have no clue how serious this is. and the mechanisms of what's going on around us within this control environment that we're in. And we just need to, work on that. That's all. And that's why I came out, and ET was right behind me. And they said, okay, let's go, go. And here I am.
Well, we're both living proof of two different lifestyles. One with you, and we've never really talked about this out loud here, like on this, but I just wish I'm so grateful that my father is talking to me now at age 71, but I spent my whole life feeling crazy and alone and wrong. And what were these? And Dad, you were on the craft with me at age 5. Why didn't you ever share this with me? And now I know his father took him up in his, back 94 generations, all the way back to zero ID. They've been watching us, and thank God for my grays and others species.
It's healing, isn't it?
Oh my God, I'm finally settled for the first time in my life. The PSTD, all the learning issues, the ADHD. I know that a lot of that was just stress, and I could not having coping mechanisms to handle it. And that's why I think also I've been told by Pleiadians, Arcturians, others that why I keep wanting to know everything. And they said, you don't really want to know about my lab and some of the other things. I remember almost nothing of almost my whole life, and particularly my whole childhood. I do remember going on craft at 5 and 6 and 10, but most of it, and I know I've been going off planet since then, working on inside of habitats till, last week I was in the inside of the sun and inside Pluto again, helping. But I just love that you got your father, that your father took your hand and shared with you this information. I wonder how many fathers did that, because his dad said, he said, we wouldn't be here. I'm so sorry.
I don't know. My dad was a different sort of a human. Yeah. My dad was very, they used to, when he was in the service, they used to call him Smiling Sergeant Saffron. Okay. He grinned all the time. Never stopped smiling. He still smiles to this day when I see him. Okay. OBE. He was the most happiest, level-headed, well-grounded human being I've ever known in my life. He is simply the one person. And I think learning about Preston's right behind him. He's the same personality type, okay? Nothing flakes him at all. He just says, okay, let it go. Don't get mad. Just let it go. And he tried to teach me that, and I still work on that to this day. He understood things in a very high level way. He was, I would call my father a master. Like there's numerology. His master number was 22. Okay. His normal everyday number was 11. He was a master builder.
I'm 11. I'm 11. Yeah.
There you go. Well, that's why you do what you do. Mine is 11, as a matter of fact. And, my daily number is a 9. So.
What's your birthday? Mine's March 11th, 1951. Oh, you're May 8th.
Yeah. And I'm a weird Taurus because my moon is in Aquarius.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the left-handedness comes in. Yes. And then, so he was just very level, and he kept me with both feet on the ground most of the time. And that's the greatest gift any parent can give their kids, I think. And I was lucky to have one that could give me that gift. We don't, in this world, it's hard to find because everybody's so inundated by so much. It's hard to make heads or tails out of everything. And it just seemed like somebody went, here you go. You're going to need this. There you go. It's the one thing I needed in my life, and I got it. So I'm more than pleased and grateful. And
then you have flown forever. I know I already just did some background, and I know when we met, you said, I look familiar? And I said, yes. So all I knew was I flew in the 1200s and the 1500s, but do you have any recollection of when we flew? Since I'm still trying to remember, I'm just waking up as of last year. So I have a lot to catch up with.
I remember you from early in my life. I probably met you the first time when we were very small children, just so you know. You're not that much older than me, okay? I'm 60, almost 65 now.
I'm 75.
I may be older. Yeah, okay, well, we're in range, okay?
And we grew up a few miles from each other outside Chicago.
That's right. And I think I've seen you. Did your father ever take you to NASA?
Yes,
to
he did.
dedicate?
Well, he
Yeah.
worked, his company was started, the Cook Electric Company and Labs was started in 1896. And then
Okay.
during, his grandfather started running the company, and they did
Yeah.
the work with the military, the US government from Truman all the way
Yeah.
to, I've been told they sold out to Bigelow in the 1990s. I don't know who they
I
sold
remember
to.
that.
But,
That.
anyway, so he took me to his plants, a couple of his plants in Morton Grove, but since, and I've mentioned to you, since just doing my research, because nobody told me anything and I could never find anything about his company. Sorry, Dad, but you said it was okay if I start talking about it. They had
Yeah.
10 plants around Chicago, and then they built.
Right. I've been up there. I've actually lived up there. Yeah. Okay. I spent a couple of years in Wisconsin on my grandparents' dairy farm. And we'd go back and forth to Chicago because my dad had an office there that he was working out of. And we almost ended up in Chicago at that point, but we were there all the time. I have relatives all over Chicago. And it's possible I met you there
Well,
under
we had a
some
house
weird
in Lake
circumstances.
Geneva, and my grandfather, my mom's dad,
Yeah.
who's an architect, went to the University of Wisconsin. But
Yeah.
and they,
Yeah.
but we had houses, all our cousins had, and they were all involved in the rocket, but
Right.
never talked about it, in Lake Geneva,
Right.
Wisconsin. And
Yeah.
then
I've been to Lake Geneva, as a matter of fact.
we were in
Absolutely. Yeah.
Elgin Club with
All
the
over Illinois. Yeah. Yeah.
we have
And
the similar paths, but so where do you think, so how old do you think we were? I've always wanted to
I don't
ask.
know. I was young. You were a little bit older. Okay. I remember
Right?
that. And I remember looking at you and thinking, you know, and then I have other memories of you on board older. Okay. I've seen you. I pilot people back and forth for different things. And I know that I've taken you when I was really young, like in my 20s, when I was first flying. I have seen hundreds of thousands of people in my lifetime on board. And that's a lot of people to remember, you know. But you stand out. You're very kinetic, and that impressed the hell out of me. Okay. So I remember that part of you. And when I met you at that con, I was like, holy cow. Oh my God, I know this. And I want to call you Mary Beth all the time. Okay. Because that's how I know you, by Mary Beth.
Mary
So,
Elizabeth. I mean, and you're the
yeah.
only one that calls me that, which I love, and that connects me also back to you back then, because I
Yeah.
started when at age 10, when I went on the huge craft. I remember having all those stats and math and science starts were stuck in my head, and then they took me alone without Dad this time, to Mars and Jupiter and Pluto, and they thought I was old enough and mature enough to start showing me other planets, and I've been going repetitively, till last week. And I've been to all the inside planets out. So I know I was flying, and either you or somebody said I was like a bat out of hell going back and forth, flying people back and forth for different with cargo and people and things. So do you remember? I don't remember anything. I've been so blocked.
My responsibilities were, when I was flying, is I was assigned to a certain quadrant in this country. And because I'm a nurse, we would contact people and bring them up to heal them. And radiation exposure deraces your DNA, and that's basically what they've been doing. They've been holding up the human race for a while. It's a losing battle, but they keep trying. They've worked valiantly hard to keep us viable until they can come and get us all. So that was basically my duty. I would fly different places. We'd gather people, gather the children, okay, and then once I would have a space of time when I wasn't flying. In other words, I'd turn control over to Talata totally, and I'd get up out of the seat and I'd go and help with people on board. Psychology was my minor in college, and so I would help them with the emotional skewing that was going on while they were there. Some of them already knew what was happening to them. They'd wake up totally around us. We sometimes have fun. We'd have long conversations. I even got kids to sing on board, just anything to keep you going, teach you anything you want to learn about the craft. I mean, I would do guided tours. I put you in the seat. I did all kinds of things to help you and your experience be more positive than anything, and to help you lose your fear. Fear is the number one thing that people experience when they're contacted. It's overwhelming. Some people just absolutely faint and won't wake up. They just go almost catatonic. That's deplorable to me in my mind, that a human being could be that afraid, but we deal with it. Not everybody wants to remember. Most people want to have their normal life. They agree to the contact because they know what it means. It's explained to them in consciousness on board. And then once they get it, they decide, I don't want to go home and remember this. I just want to live my life. I understand that this is for my benefit. You can bring me back, but I don't want to remember. And they don't. They live their normal lives. Okay. We all have that autonomy and we give it to them. There's no reason not to. ETs are very autonomous believers. They know that we each have our own path, our own karma, and that's why you don't remember everything. It's your choice, not ETs. They don't zap it out of you. They don't mind bend you or anything like that. They have no control like that over you whatsoever. You either want to remember or you don't, and you don't if you don't want to. You are given the information while you're on board with them that you can wake up. Here's how you do it. Use your abilities, seek health. And over the years, I've seen a trend start to go that way. In other words, it's a massive connection to those ideas from about the mid 70s all the way up until now. People are more health minded. People are more worried about the environment. They're worried about everything that's going on around them. They're starting to hear the messages coming from above them. You know, it's like, hey,
Right.
you're in a situation now, wake up. And that pleases me more than anything. That makes me happier than you could possibly imagine. Because otherwise, what I do would be fruitless and worthless. Okay. And I don't want it to be. I want us all to get it and enjoy life. Life is a joy. You know that.
I
In
spent
between
my
everything.
whole life trying to do that too. That's why I worked.
Yeah.
Got my BFA, then I did psychology, and I traveled the world, and I got my interior design degree, then I got my architecture degree, then I got my sustainability degree.
Yeah,
And all I ever wanted to do, because I told you I wrote NASA at age 9 to be the first woman astronaut. All I ever wanted to do was work at NASA and get validated for who I was and what my interest was. But I've taught art therapy, I've taught suicidals at hospitals, I've done wellness interiors, as you know. And now, you know, I used to go through the back door, and now I'm just like you. All I want to do is help people listen, keep asking, go deeper. I don't necessarily need to see some of all that negative stuff. And they keep telling me, you're impatient. You're learning as much as you can at a time. And I said, okay.
Yeah, patience is a crux.
Right.
Yeah, I have to be very patient. That's one of the things that I'm learning, and this is hopefully my last gig. Okay.
Yeah, me
and
too.
I don't. So patience and not getting so frustrated, I become mad at everybody for it. You know, there's no reason. We're supposed to love one another. You know, we're supposed to care enough. ET lives like this. ET, they exemplify it. They don't have a government like we think about. They have a structure of accordance. And that is basically, he who is the wisest has the most say over what's happening. Okay.
Yeah.
And they respect it and they honor it and they know that it's true because they're so wide open psychic, you can hear the truth of it. So when they make decisions, it's not, you're going to do what I say, you know, because I'm the boss. Everybody has a say, but he who is the wisest will give the right answer for everybody. And then there's an accordance. They all work together. Some people say the hive mentality, not true, because everybody has to understand that this is real true and this is how it's going to work right. Okay. That's why you call it an accordance. They are a system of accordances. That's how they operate. They've evolved to that point. Most people think that, oh, you have to have a lieutenant, a general, you have to have a president, you have to have a galactic federation. No, I'm sorry, none such exists. Not at all. They're that highly evolved. It is easy, pleasing, and thankfully calming to know that knowledge supersedes stupidity. It's calming to know that understanding and love supersedes hate, anger, and avarice or ego. Okay. They live in that kind of society. They embody it. They embolden it. They teach it. And that's what they want us to catch up to, desperately catch up to. That's how they live their lives. They're happy. They sing. They oh my God, you haven't lived until you heard them all singing in their head. Oh my God. They love classical music. That's some of their favorite types of music to employ to listen to. And they go nuts when they hear it. They'll bing bong around. You'll see them flitting around and doing weird things. NASA's actually played music to them and watched what happens. They go crazy over it. They love
I
it.
put it in, we
You know?
put it in the International Space Station when I worked at NASA in the 90s. We did,
Yeah.
we did art, we put music in, we were trying to make it a functional, cross-cultural, multidimensional, multisensory environment,
Resorts.
earth-ground orientation, so they could feel and live more in habitability and in human factor.
Right. You live in joy when you do that.
Live in joy
You
and
elevate
peace.
your mind thinking when
Right.
you do that. You live in joy. That's the point. We need to learn to live in joy here instead of all this negativity and all that stuff. And so that's why I'm talking. It's like, it's better. You know, if you weigh the two things in your hand, positivity and negativity, there's not enough negativity to outweigh positivity. There's just not. It's like antimatter. Okay. Positive and negative matter, when they come together, scientists here want to believe that it causes a great explosion. No, it doesn't. This cancels this out. There is no explosion. It just goes, it is gone.
Right.
It ceases to exist.
And as
And
Dad said too, that he's ever said, you know, he was with Einstein at Princeton, and he said, Mary, just a few weeks ago, he said, remember, fear and love have always been the choices. He said, this is nothing new. People just need to realize they have a choice every day, which is what we talk about. I mean, you have a choice every day, whether to be half full or half empty. And we've always chosen, because of our guidance, because of our knowledge. I've been terrified of war and angst and,
well, don't be afraid of it, because there's good news in that.
well, because it's the balance, and I understand that
Right.
now. I can accept that finally as a hypersensitive person like we are. And
I had a conversation with somebody recently. You want to know what it was?
yes.
Why are we in this particular place here? What's going on here that we have to learn? It was this a point of serious decision on the part of whoever created us in all of this. And the answer is still out, but I'm beginning to believe that this is a construct that we're in, a reality construct, heavy duty, where we learn to overcome these negative aspects of ourselves, that we are the ones that are supposed to cancel it out. We are the positive energy that must get it to go away. We must make that choice, each one of us individually. This is the proving ground that we're in. How we respond to everything is supersedes everything else. Because when something negative happens to you, you can either go crazy and react negatively, or you can take a step back, take a big breath of air and go, okay, wait a minute, let's look at this for what it really is. Okay, and walk away, drop it. Buddha had the right idea, let it go. It's not going to affect you in the long run. Let it go, walk away. When you learn to do that, you elevate yourself. You learn to leave here permanently. And I think that's why we're here. And that's why they keep bringing us here iteration after iteration, because that's the point of catching up to them. That's where they are, and they want us to catch up to that. It's real important. And I'm convinced more and more every day that that's exactly true. That's where autonomy comes in.
Yes.
We make the decision to do this. Nobody else. We
And
do.
it's our choice, and only we can do it. That's why the ETs
Right.
watch us, and they're hoping that we can all shift and elevate each other to another frequency. We used to call it frequency. Now it's consciousness, but it really is the vibe. It's good vibes, and it's good vibration that I've always gotten, and you have, from going outside in nature. All I ever wanted to do was go paint rocks and be in the wavelength of what I felt doing all my sports and being growing up with Lake Michigan in our backyard. I wanted to be, I thought God source was the water, and it was, it still is to me in a lot of ways, but I know, and we all are connected. And
Right.
I've always
Vibration is the sound the universe makes.
Yes.
Okay. It is the sound of life. I want to clarify something, okay? Because this I was absolutely taught by them. This isn't up for discussion. Literally, I want you to understand it, okay? What you are hearing vibrationally is the sound of the universe. Positive vibration versus negative vibration. And you have to separate the two out. There is no gray area here. People want there to be, but there's no such thing. It is or it is not, on or off, okay? You either live in a positive manner, you choose that, and you hear the positive vibrations of the universe and the positive messages and the positive learning, or you dip into the negative and you go that route. Okay. One is destructive, one is not. Okay. That's your choice. You choose. Your consciousness is constant. Who you are is constant. It has its own thumbprint or DNA identity, okay? You are one among everything in this universe. We're all connected, all light. You're all light. All the particles that make you up, your consciousness, are in it with everybody else. We're all swimming in the same soup, but we know each other by the individual stamp of what we think. Your consciousness is alive. You are present, ever present in the body that you're indwelling right now. Okay. You are known for who you are. You cannot be misidentified by anything. You are you. You are consciousness. Okay. So when you say you want to elevate, the word elevate to ET means this. They want you to become wise, knowledgeable. They want you to understand how all of this works. And it's a process. Even I'm in that. I'm no master, not by a long shot, but I'm moving forward in my ability to understand it all. And I can cognitively put it together and construct it in my mind, in my consciousness, as it really is. And then what I do with that energy is I employ it, I teach it, I work it, I am who I am, and I am being what I need to be. Once you wear what you understand and know, the wisdom that you understand, that's what elevates you. That's what raises you out of this soup. That's what sends you on to better stuff. You can't sit and play video games all the day. That doesn't teach your consciousness anything. It teaches you anger, violence, all kinds of stuff, because those video games are not okay.
No,
If you
they're
sit
not.
and watch TV all day, you're ignoring the universe, and it's not going to talk to you. You know, you have to physically jump in there with it and say, hey, I'm open. I'm going to give you one more concept. I brought it up today with somebody, and I want to bring it up with you. ET taught me this is empirical data. You cannot change this. This is a bottom truth, basic foundational truth that exists. We're light. All light touches all light. We're all connected. We are, they are us, we are them, we are all one throughout the entire universe. Every particle you own touches particles everywhere. We are in contact with it constantly. Whether you can hear it right now or not doesn't mean anything, because you do hear it whether you know it or not. That is the most important thing that you can visualize in your memory. People talk about channeling. Oh, I'm receiving a message, and they speak for this person. Every single human being on this planet and throughout the universe can make contact with every other single human being, entity, consciousness there is, simply by shutting up and listening and thinking, I want to contact. Okay, it'll come to you. Or actually, the process is, it doesn't come to you, you walk to it, you walk through to it. It is, you just move forward, and it's there. You can download anything because you're walking into it. Your consciousness is moving toward it. Okay, and you make contact. It's a two-way street. It has to want you, you want it, and boom, you make the contact. When I talk to Tolada, all I have to do is think about him, and boop, there he is. Okay, Mama, same way. If I wanted to contact you mentally, I'll do it tonight if you want me to. I will mentally contact you, and let's see tomorrow if you tell me, geez, I heard what you said, and I'll say, what is it? I'll write it down. I'll give it to somebody or post it online so you can't see it, and then I'll send you to it and you can see it, and you'll see the timestamp. This is Psychic Ability 101. Okay, and I want everybody to understand that. Consciousness is awake, it is alive, it is who you are, and it's who everybody else is. And if you want to use that, if you want to employ that knowledge and that ability, you have to realize that it means you shut up in your own head, drop all the negative stuff, and just listen. Open your mind. Your physical mind will open so that your consciousness can make the connect to it and give you the transmission of what's going on. It's very important.
And
That's
beautiful.
how it works.
Well, and plus, until we sort of surrender to that, I mean, I'm getting the noise out more and more all the time. It was like, oh my God, I've just driven myself crazy so much. Not when I get into my zone, when I'm creative, when I'm outdoors, when I'm silent, when I've let go of all my control of how I'm going to fix or do
You've been
things.
trained to do it. I know.
And thank God during COVID, we were forced to go inside and go
I
deep.
know. They don't realize what they did when they did
Oh my
that.
God,
It's a double-edged sword.
it was perfect because
Right.
I went down into the deeper, why am I scared? Or what are those what are those things that I have to let go of and want to let go of and learn about? And In order to be effective here for the back 9 of this life that I'm here for, I want to get it better and better every day. And every day is a choice. All day, every day is all we have, as I've said in talks and what I used to teach
You
my
want to know
students.
something that's better than TV?
All
It
about
has
time.
all the elements of it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
it has
sure
suspense.
does.
It has
Right.
angst. It has mystery. It has revelation. It
Magic,
has joy,
beauty.
everything. I mean, you just go through that and you go, wow, you know, you can't watch TV anymore because this is better, you know? I mean,
Well, and look
nothing
where we
better
live.
than-
We both love nature. Look where I live. I know where you live. It's just, it is right out. It's right here. We are all connected. Every rock, every blade, every leaf,
everything,
every
all of it.
tree, every critter. I have
Right.
always felt that. And now, because I'm stepping into that 100%, like why we're talking about this now, is we don't have to feel alone. We've never been alone. I've never felt alone. I knew in my mother's womb that I was protected and loved. And it's taken me a long time to step into this so I can help others in any little ripple effect through art or this conversation today, to just let go and be still, because in the stillness, the peace comes the information, and listening is caring. And it's all about sort of self-love and acceptance, which I've gotten to. I do love myself. And because of hearing what my father and mother and everybody has told me, because I've been asking for it, because I want to know to let go and let go of those, the fragments of myself that has always kept me away from being the target, being in my own self-love of inside my heart and my head and my soul. So it's just so, it's so beautiful. I mean, I could burst out crying and I have a big smile on my face, just knowing that we have a choice every day, and it's happening if we ask for it. Like you say, moving into it, that acceptance and that desire and that request will get met. And I keep asking, I want to do more. What can I do? Show me. And I'm going off planet more. I'm teaching art kids on Earth, off planet. I've been connecting inner and outer space my whole life. And it's what I've needed to do too, which I'm doing now, finally, closer and closer, step by step, every day, is connecting my own inner outer space that I've done with interiors for my whole life into my heart and my soul. Because it is attainable. I mean, I've never been happier. I feel better. And I've always eaten well. I've always spent a lot of time outdoors. I've always spent a lot of time alone because I feel so much and I pick up too much. But
you shouldn't say it like that. That's a negative statement.
No,
Did you know that?
I know. I just realized that
Say
I
it
said
like
that.
this. I feel everything. Isn't it wonderful? I'm picking it all up. I have the ability to walk around the negative stuff, but oh Lord, look, that looks good over there. I'm going there, and move out into it. Okay?
I'm still learning how. I mean, I know that I'm doing that, and I'm stepping into this understanding that both.
This is what fear does. It stops you from using your ability. You know, there's nothing wrong with feeling the feels. Nothing. Okay, it teaches you. There's nothing wrong with seeing something that you have to make the decision. Do I really want to go near that or not? And then you decide, I'm going to go this way for right now because that doesn't look too good to me. That reduces your fear. That makes you understand that nothing's going to harm you unless you let it. Okay, that's the big one. We understand that anything that happens to us is by our own hand. We decide to harm each other or ourselves. And if somebody's got something, I'll give you an example, okay? I grew up and I met a person who had it in for me, okay? Took one look at me and realized that I was somebody that they feared and didn't understand, and they did not want me in their purview. And they announced it in front of the class and everybody, threatened me even. And I just looked at them and I said, well, you're wrong. Okay, I'm a nice person, and if you don't want to get to know me, don't threaten me though, because I will protect myself from you. Not a good idea to come at me. I warned them. Okay, and I went home and thought about it for 24 hours. I thought, what am I doing? You know, I'm doing what they're doing. This might be a wrong thing to do. And I really gummed it up in my head. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? This person met me after school, was going to beat me up, had a bunch of kids around her, and I thought, okay, one. Sometimes you have to defend. And I punched her right in the mouth as hard as I could. I just walked up to her, knocked her front teeth out. as they were falling to the ground, I looked at her and I looked at everybody else who ran like crazy. And I realized, oh Lord, what have I just done? I felt terrible. I heard her. I did not mean to do that. I could have thought of a better way to get to know her and understand her, because she was afraid of me. And instead of me giving her of myself, I popped her. Picked her teeth up, put them in her hand, wrapped her hand around them, said, go home, they'll put them back. They did. And it took me 10 years after that to get to know this girl. And when we finally did, I realized that she had a very tough life, that that was how she was taught to be, and that my best reaction should have been, and it was a terrible lesson for me, and I learned it. Don't react negatively to negativism.
That's
Give
why it
it,
was a good lesson for you, because that's how we
yeah,
learn by what
even
I,
though I didn't, yeah, yeah,
to shift the language too, because we are what we say, we are what we eat, we are what the vibes put out, and that's
right,
all day, every day. And there are really no exceptions to that. And, I keep, we keep improving every day if we want to. And if we
yeah,
want to get out of fear, then we get into more love and
yeah,
get rid of some of those, the icky
right.
parts that scare us or bring us down. And we delete the negative people, the negative furniture, the negative vibes, the negative coworkers.
Yeah, the negative weapons. One of the things that ET would love to have seen us do is put down our weapons, okay? Because
Yes.
weapons are
Oh,
bad toys, and disarm ourselves and meet each other on common ground, and sit and talk it out. That's the most important thing.
right.
And we've developed a society worldwide where we end everything in violence, and that can't continue. It's not sustainable. And this is what's happening to us right now. This is our normal reaction to things that we could have figured out a long time ago and worked out better. And this is where waking up individually is important, because once you understand that, you step back from it and you go, oh, okay, I'm not going to play that anymore. And people who would ordinarily go rob or steal or whatever, if they learned it, they would not do that anymore. They would open up and look for better ways to comport themselves positively and get the right kind of help they need. Because there's nothing wrong with asking for help, but it is wrong if you take it in a negative direction. You know, that's the kind of things that we should be teaching one another. And I know it seems impossible right now, but everything begins with the first step. It begins with us. It starts with us. And we need to try that really, really hard to work on that. It's important.
Right.
Whether we make it in the end or not, whether we all graduate together or not, is not important. But what is important is to try,
Well,
you
it's the
know?
intention that we're all working together and letting go of the guns and the warfare. And they are hoping that's why they switch off nuclear plants. I mean, they want us.
Everything affects everything. I know
To,
nuclear is very dangerous, not just to us and our environment, but it's dangerous to every dimensional space around us, all the way through all 12 dimensions that we live in. If it
reverberates
rips through
all
us,
the way
it'll
out.
rip through them as well. Yes, it's dangerous. That's why they want us to stop. It's not good. We're hurting everybody, you know? I want people to realize that it's very important. We can learn to do things in a sustainable way without taking nature and amplifying it to the point that it becomes a dangerous weapon itself, annihilating ourselves. It's just not healthy, you know?
Right. Well, and that's why we're here today. And we are actually just about out of time, but what a positive, beautiful conversation with you. And that's why we're here, to maybe shed some light, help ourselves and others, keep the good vibes coming, because unless we talk about it, we're not here to promote anything or make any money, or all we want to do is spread the positive word that if we band together, live more in love, live at that higher level of frequency and energy, that we can help rise all of us together. And that's what we need. That's what we're doing here. And that's why we picked this particular beautiful time on the planet to help lift. And that's all we want to do, is be a little ripple of positivity every day, and not get triggered by the negative crap that so many people are stuck in and talk.
I'll give you one last thing. This is what my father taught me to say to myself every day, and ET as well. They enforced it. I think, therefore I am. I am love, therefore I will be love. That's it.
And on that note, I love you, Dolly Saffron. And I love you all out there. Take care of ourselves and love each other. So, and I'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
You're welcome.
You.
Okay.
Thank you. Love
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.